Good evening, everybody. It's 6 p.m. Central Standard Time. That means it's time for Stock Talk Thursday. Stock Talk Thursday really it's aptly titled because what we're going to do for the next 20, 30 minutes, we're just going to talk about stocks. And when we do that on this program, we're going to go through what was hot this week, what was not hot this week in stocks, what happened in the news this week, some of those things that made it hot, some of those things not so much. I want to make sure that you get jam-packed into the next session, your weekly dose, what was hot, what's not, what's in the news, where are we going from here. So I'm your host, Blair Nightingale, coming at you, as I said, Stock Talk, 6 p.m. every week right here. Thank you guys so much for being on here live, recording, YouTube, Facebook, wherever you're at tonight. Thanks for being on with us. We're not going to waste any time. If you've got any comments, you can go ahead and drop them right over here on my screen, and you can say hello. You can let me know if you have any questions. Tell me where you're from. Tell me where you're at in your stock trading. Tell me what your dreams are in your stock trading. Interact with me. I will interact with you. That is the best part about this broadcast. Gives you the opportunity to do that. So thank you. If this is your first time, please drop a comment in there. Let me know this is your first time. If you're coming back, I'd love to hear from you too. And let's get started. What was hot this week? What stocks were hot this week? Well, I'm actually going to jump right into sharing a chart with you because I want you guys to be able to see it, not just hear it. Okay? So you can see me and the chart on the screen. This is the tech industry. This is the NASDAQ index. We talked about the S&P 500 index. If you're saying, Blair, I'm brand new, I don't really know these terms, make sure you follow us. Make sure you like and subscribe. Like if you're on Facebook. Ring the bell and subscribe if you are on YouTube because it's going to let you know whenever we have a show, okay? You get a tremendous amount of content from us on YouTube that we do because we want to connect with you and we want to help you understand these things. So we've looked at a lot of this stuff on the Market Monday broadcast already. I know I've got some Market Monday hardcores out there right now, and you know what I'm talking about. You're with us there every week. If you're not there with us every week, make sure to join next time because we talk a lot about this stuff. Today, I want to talk hot. I want to talk not. I want to talk news, and we're going to keep doing it at that pace. So make sure to join us on Mondays. Cheryl says, hello from Connecticut. Now, I haven't actually had somebody from Connecticut on here yet, at least not somebody who said they were. So thank you, Cheryl, for being the first representative from Connecticut coming in. First Thursday Stock Talk, but not new to Tradeway. Okay, so Cheryl, great example. We're doing lots of cool stuff over here. In fact, we're doing so much stuff, I'd be surprised if you can be on all of it. But if you can, there's a lot of value here. So thank you for being on, Cheryl. Today, we are just going to keep talking. Hey, what was hot? What was not? So getting into the first one, this is the tech industry. Okay, this is an index. This is the index that we follow for tech stocks specifically. Now, the S&P 500 has tech stocks in it. In fact, the S&P 500 is broken up into 11 sectors. I've talked about this on Market Monday. And of course, one of those, the XLK, is an ETF that follows it, is the tech industry. You say, wow, Blair, I don't even understand what you just said. Well, the S&P is broken up into different sections. And one of those, and the most important of those in terms of how much it influences the S&P 500, which is our market tone, is the tech sector. Well, flip on over to what we're looking at on the screen right now. This is the NASDAQ, okay? The NASDAQ it's the tech stocks. This is where we're going to follow for just tech, okay? This is not broad like the S&P 500 with 505 companies in it. The NASDAQ is different. What was hot this week? You say, well, Blair, I noticed there's some red candlesticks on that thing. That's moving down. Let me go ahead and jump over. What happened here? Yeah, tech was not hot. Tech was absolutely not hot. It found a bottom, tried, failed, and then in the last 2 days, it's exploded. Here's why I'm saying it's hot today, and this is why I think it matters to us as traders. Number one, it moved outside of this downtrending line. Okay. It struggled, moved up, and it has since proven itself. That's number one. Number two, it closed above the moving averages today. The 5, the 10, the 50, the 20, and the 50. It moved and closed above them. Will it hold? I don't have a crystal ball. I don't know that, but I know the buyers took control and drove it above that technical level today. That is bullish. So I see that. It also had 2 very strong days. It just had 2 strong days at a level and was able to make a new high, suggesting that there's a trend reversal here. Okay, now there's some news floating around we're going to get to that I think is important, and there's definitely some vulnerability here because whenever tech stocks sell off, we see pretty widespread volatility in the market. Now, this bull market, where we're at in this bull market, is built. These evaluations, these high price levels in the S&P 500 and in the NASDAQ, they're built on the backs in many ways of these very high valuations. And a lot of those tech stocks are the first thing to go when investors start to look for something more conservative. So that brought them down. But so far, tech has been hot enough where when the stocks come down, it brings the buyers in. It's almost like, if you can use this intense picture, it's like sharks. You know, there's blood in the water and they all just come. And you wonder, are they going to come again this time? Sure enough, so far they did. They followed through. In fact, if I can just say this really quick, here's just a freebie. Telling our students this week, you know, when this comes down into support over and over again, it bounces. Now you say, well, Blair, it failed here. It did, but that was 2 really solid days. 2 really solid days. And here, it just retested the same level, came up, did it again. So tomorrow's going to be a big day, but tech stocks, definitely seeing some pretty significant movement in the tech stocks. Tech stocks right now are on fire. We'll see what happens tomorrow, but in the past, when those things, what we like to say, catch a bid, you know, they just keep going and they don't look back for a little while. So unless we see some other news that really comes in and dampens that movement, I won't be surprised. I'm not going to predict. We never predict at Tradeway. You don't need to know what's going to happen in the market to make money in the market. You need to know how to manage risk and look for edge. That's how we trade. We don't need a crystal ball. And if anybody out there says they have a crystal ball, then they're trying to scam you, because there's no way they can have that. Which is okay, because we don't need to know how to do that. We don't need to know the future to make money in stocks. We need to know how to manage risk and find good price edge. So tech was hot. That is, by the way, that chart, you type in IXIC. Okay, IXIC, that will take you over to the NASDAQ index. Okay, so that's an index, not an individual stock. It's an index. And that is what we're calling hot tonight. What was not hot? Ooh. What happened over here? What was not hot tonight, this week? Let's go ahead and just jump in real quick to Bitcoin. Bitcoin was not hot. Okay, this is a daily. Bitcoin lost some 30% of its value in a single day this week. Now, this isn't the first time that Bitcoin or the entire crypto market. Now, we've done episodes entirely on crypto. So if you're still kind of foggy and confused on even just a basic understanding of what it is, no doubt you've heard about it in the news or somebody's posted something about it that you've seen in social media. But you don't necessarily know what it is. We've covered that in past episodes. But the broad crypto market, okay, overall, that had a major slide. So you can look at Bitcoin here on the chart. There were also other major coins they call altcoins. You know, Ethereum took a big dive. Even the very newsworthy right now, Dogecoin, for those who are following, that took a pretty significant dive. A lot of things took a pretty significant dive. Bitcoin, or BTC being the symbol for Bitcoin, it really is the flagship coin. Okay, it's the one that it's just been the leader of the pack for this new technology, and in many ways, it's not always moving up or down the most. Okay, we looked at Ethereum in previous Stock Talk weeks, but it's definitely a trendsetter, And it took a big slide this week. And so, but crypto as a whole really got crushed. Starting to see a little bit of a recovery, a little bit of a bounce in there. If you've been looking for lower evaluations on crypto, it certainly is in that area now. Can't say that that slide is necessarily over. As I said, Bitcoin took a 30% drop. That's pretty significant volatility. Remember that this industry has very little regulation. It has very little regulation. I can't say that it has very little institutional investment. Okay, I don't think that's necessarily true, but there is a lot of retail activity. It creates a lot of volatility. It's very news driven, and it's not necessarily. Many of these coins are tied to the technology of those coins. Not all of them, and of course there are many coins. But it's not necessarily attached to a specific economic trend. Okay, it's not necessarily attached to certain economic metrics in the same way we might talk about in the stock market. Different factors, complex or not, have created a lot of volatility. So a 30% drop, and on the other side, major increases, right? Major moves up as bigger have also happened. That's what makes the crypto market very attractive to people, but we got to understand what's happening in this market. So make sure, if you're curious, if you're thinking about getting into the crypto space, that you're going back, watching some of those previous episodes. We don't want to know just enough to be dangerous. Right now, anybody can open a brokerage account. Anybody can open a crypto account. You can start buying money, putting money in there. The problem is, if we don't know what we're doing, we can easily become victim to things that we don't know. Okay, what we don't know can't hurt us. Not true. Okay, what we don't know can hurt us. That's why we train people here at Tradeway to be traders, which, as I said, managing risk, finding good opportunities, which we define as having an edge in the market, something that gives you a mathematical edge so that when you put your money at risk, you know that you're putting it at risk at a better time than any other time you could be putting it into the market. Of course, we have to learn that skill set. So that's really important. What caused Bitcoin to fall? Well, in this instance, other than the volatility I've been talking about, this is a new technology. Okay. So the Fed is really the government, the IRS, and the Fed, the Federal Reserve Bank. Okay. They are trying to catch up with this. How is this taxed? We talked about that a little bit on a previous episode. They are saying, you know what? We're going to have to really step up regulations. This summer, the Fed says, we're going to get together and we're going to talk about this more in depth. I don't know if this is actually going to be instated yet, but this is certainly something being talked about. Any transaction of $10,000 or more in crypto is going to be required to be reported to the government. Okay, that's new. So crypto has been very volatile. When these kinds of things come into play, they tend to drop. When companies, platforms sound like they're going to use crypto, right? Such and such retailer is going to accept Bitcoin as a payment, then it tends to go up. That's broad acceptance. Ooh, if we're going to use Bitcoin in practical ways, it must be worth more, right? And the market lifts. That's typically how this goes. So when we see regulatory talk like that, it drops the market. And that crushed crypto this week. So that is definitely are not hot. If you're just joining us, I know I can see a few more people in there. I can see that you're here, but I can't see your name. Just a reminder, if you want to say hello, if you want to ask a question or comment on anything in any way, you can always just drop it right over there. Actually, it's right over here on my screen in the comment box, and we will be able to help you out with that as well. Of course, if you're on the recording, you can always drop comments in there because our wonderful social media team will check that out and pass on anything that I may need to look at, so I can answer that question for you. So we also had some news this week, and I want to tell you guys, we're not just running through the news here. Okay, we're trying to be traders. And at Tradeway, we talk specifically, we break it down for you. How much of this do I need to look at the chart? How much is the news? Because most people don't even know what a chart is, and they think the news is all that matters. And they try to use the news to interpret it somehow to tell them what's going to happen so they can get some kind of confidence of what's going to happen in the future because they've read a lot of news. Well, that's not why I bring you news today. Okay, news is not a crystal ball. In fact, by the time we get any news, right, you and me, whether it's CNBC, on your phone, alert, doesn't matter, that news is old news to Wall Street. Okay, chances are in almost all cases, they're way ahead of us with the news. So trading based on news is not only highly subjective, it's not only coming from sources that may actually be invested in certain positions. Now, they have to disclose that, but that doesn't mean they aren't necessarily involved. Whatever the case may be, that's not particularly helpful to us. So we use the chart, not news for that, but I do try to keep in mind one or two at most major news items. And so on Stock Talk Thursday, I want to make sure to cover at least a little bit what happened in the news this week. I want to give you just an easy breakdown for traders. What happened in the news, some of the things that moved the market this week. So I talked about tech, and I think really tech has been the story, right? That's been the story the last 5 or so days. Now, there have been some jobs numbers, unemployment numbers that came out, and that definitely was an important news item. Basically, if you hear any of us talking about different economic data, all we're trying to do is go, it's like the dashboard on our car, right? As these reports come out periodically, it tells us, okay, how fast are we going? How much gas is in the tank, right? How noisy is it? How loud is the radio? I mean, all these things play in, right? What direction are we heading? If we think about all these economic numbers, you say, Blair, ooh, it's all confusing, Fed and interest rates. And well, I'll say this first of all, for you and me, we don't have to understand all this stuff to know how to trade. Number one. Number two, here at Tradeway, we understand how to put these pieces together and then interpret it for you so that you don't have to learn all this stuff. Now, I want you to learn it over time in terms of just a general idea of which major news item should you as a trader be paying attention to, right? We teach you how to do that over time. It's remarkable in how short of a time you're going to start saying, I didn't know any of this before, and now look at me. Look at how I'm interpreting. And your neighbor is still reading pages and pages of news, and you're going, it's that one thing. That's the only thing I care about. And you can get on with your life. More time for you, more time for your trading. That's ultimately what we want to do. That's what we want to have for you. But identifying that news item is definitely important. So there's that dashboard, right? That gives us a basic idea of how healthy is the economy, okay? Should we slow down? Can we speed up? How are we going to trade? That's basically what we want to do with that. So tech was the big thing. Can we keep the market at these levels? Can tech keep it up? Can they keep making as much money as they have? Are their quarterly earnings going to keep being as strong as they've been? If not, we're going to bail out. We're going to move to something else. And we talked a little bit about inflation and things like that in previous episodes, and that's been pretty important as well. So that'll continue, I think, to be the story because the Fed mentioned this week, the Federal Reserve Bank, we did a whole episode on the Fed. They are talking like this week, they said, you know what? We might be willing, right? We may be willing. They said it like this. It may be appropriate at some point to change the policy, meaning we're going to be more aggressive with interest rates because actually things are going pretty well. We're not going to do it yet, but we just want to let you know we think it might be appropriate. That little change in language, the market really did notice that, right? They pay attention to those things. I think that only helped accelerate the sell-off we saw this last 5 trading sessions. So I think that was important, but more so I think through the summer, that's kind of the story we need to be watching. How are interest rates going to respond when inflation and things like that are going up in the market? This is really what's happening in the news. The only thing I want you guys to really watch for is what's the reaction to the Fed? What are they saying about the Fed? That's something I want you to pay attention to. And I think that's going to develop more over the summer, okay? So this is really the snapshot. Hot, not basic news. This is the snapshot that I think of. These are the changes happening, okay? We are definitely, I'm going to go back to the chart here for a second. We are definitely, let's go back to the S&P and close out today. You know, this market is still in the trend. I talked about this on Market Mondays, right? We're still holding in that trend. We might have some volatility. We might have had a couple of ugly days down, but the buyers are still coming in and buying at that blue line, which is the 50-day moving average. They're still grabbing it there. We've been doing this for a long time now. Okay, we've had some volatility and we held. We had some volatility and we held. Had it here, held. We've had it again now and we've held so far. Okay, so nothing major has actually changed yet, but we are starting to see a little bit more vulnerability, a little more question marks. How long can the market keep it up? So I'll finish with this tonight. Let's answer that question. Wouldn't you like to know? How long can the market keep this up? Wouldn't we want to know the answer to that question? I might ask myself that question. Well, how long can it keep it up? And of course, the answer is, I don't know. But how long does a pattern last? Until it doesn't. As long as the stock, as long as the S&P 500 continues to trade in the pattern, then what I need to do is continue to trade the pattern. And for those of you out here who are brand new, you say, what do you mean by trading the pattern? We have, you can see on the chart, that is what we call an uptrend. It's trending up. It's moving from left to right and it's moving higher. It's going in between those lines over and over again. That is one of the patterns we'll help you find in the market. We simply want to buy at the bottom and we want to sell at the top. And when it repeats, we want to repeat that process. We want to show you how to do that. That is trading. That is how we manage our risk and use price edge. Ultimately, that is the price edge, is mainly in that price pattern. Okay. So that's what we help you understand how to do. And as long as it's in that pattern, it's in that pattern. So here, let me just say this. I was going to close out, but I think this is going to be interesting. You say, well, Blair, should I have been confident there? Well, you might not have been because you saw a big drop, but it was at the 50-day. I spoke to one of our coaches. I said, S&P's at the 50-day. You know what happens at the 50-day, right? I don't have a crystal ball. I didn't know for sure, but I know what it did over and over and over, and it moved up 2 really strong days. You say, well, Blair, it didn't go up very far. It turned around and came back. That's true, but we had 2 really nice days. Now, more follow through on some longer trades. Yeah, that would have been good, but we continue to see that volatility, but it dropped again. Back down to the 50-day and up today, outside of that downtrending line for those of you who know what that means. And we're looking at a pretty decent spot right now, pretty decent spot to find out tomorrow whether the bulls can just continue to drive that. It's looking like it's in a pretty good spot here. We might go sideways for a few days. We'll have to wait and see. But looks like tech is getting some strength back, which takes us back to hot, not, and news. Thank you guys for being on today. I know we moved quick. That's how we're going to do it here on Stock Talk Thursday. Just give you a snapshot of what you can be watching for, what happened this week, and let you know that if you are wanting to step forward, okay, you're wanting to move forward in your stock trading journey. You don't want to be reading hours and hours of news. You don't want to be putting your money at risk without knowing what you're doing. Head on over tradeway.com. Okay, tradeway.com. You can simply go to our main page. I'm actually going to just post it for you right now in the comments. And you'll see in the middle of the page, it says Step 1, Start Your Journey. This is a virtual stock trading event. And this is ultimately where you can learn our foundational trading system. Okay, this is the place to get started. I promise you, your brain is going to be full of excellent, actionable information by the time the weekend is over. If you're interested in trading, you owe it to yourself to step in to step 1. If you're not interested in trading, well, I hope that joining us here today is starting to turn the wheels for you, because this past year, as I've said many times, we saw more people in our society come into the stock market on a retail level, that's you and me, than ever before, because they're waking up to the realization, hey, if I learn how to do this, I could start a stock trading business from home, right on my laptop. And people are doing it. The question is, do they know what they're doing when they do it? That's what our step one is designed to help you do. So you can jump over into that link if you want to get started there. As I mentioned at the top of the broadcast, if there's anyone out there who has questions, comments, concerns, and disagreements, you can always pop those into the comments and our lovely team will send those over to me and I can respond to you. That said, that's Stock Talk Thursday for tonight. We will be back on Monday, Market Monday. Excited for that and a whole new week of Tradeway programming with the markets being open. I will see you guys then. Thank you so much and good night.